Okay, so I am joined by Julian Chenoweth this afternoon in his fabulous recruitment office there. So Julian sort of owns various businesses throughout Cornwall. So I'll start off with sort of, I guess you could answer this depending on which business you want to talk about, but sort of what it is you do and how long you've been going. I guess perhaps where your business journey first started as a business owner.
Yeah, I guess my first business, I served in the military for the first part of my working life. And when I came out of that, I decided I needed to go into business and work for myself. And so the first business I put together was a haulage company called Maincarn.
Yep.
And I started that in 2005 and spent 10 years building that up into quite a large company, regional business from Bristol down. I had nearly 300 employees and a turnover about 30 million on that business. And across, I diversified that business too. So we went into manufacturing, not just logistics or road haulage. We were waste management specialists and ready-mix concrete, but other value-added products and bagging. We bagged up quite a lot of material for the building materials market.
Sure. I can see, I always see a lot of the vans out on the road.
Yeah. They're distinctive. They're distinctive
definitely.
livery, and I sort of designed them that way right at the very beginning because I wanted our lorries to stand out so people could understand our corporate identity and what a brand was.
Yeah, fantastic. And then where did your sort of journey go after main car?
So I decided when after the referendum in 2016, I decided that I wanted to sell Maincarn. So I identified a potential buyer that was a competitor of mine on a national basis. And I just started some preliminary discussions with them in terms of joint ventures, which allowed them to have a look inside my business. And then about 6 months after, we decided to do a deal with each other in Somerset on a plant. We worked together for 6 months. And then I knew that they were quite interested in what my business looked like because of what the business could give them in terms of territory. Yeah. And I knew that they were going through a growth by acquisition period. So the timings were quite good. So, I sold both of those businesses in the 1st of January, 2017.
Sure.
And then that led me on to what I would call my second iteration, I suppose, in business, which is what I'm currently in.
Oh, interesting. So you sold them pre-pandemic, which was, I mean, looking back now, I guess that was you couldn't have called it, but it was a good decision to make with hindsight.
To be honest with you, I felt that there was a change coming anyway. I mean, I couldn't have called the pandemic, but what with Brexit, it was very, very fresh. I also felt that there was a little bit of strange movement in the construction materials market and the general construction market up and down the country. And potentially if COVID hadn't happened, we may potentially have had a recession anyway. Sure. So I kind of felt there was a bit of a change happening in the market, and so it was a good time for me to sell. But also I wanted to change my direction in life somewhat, and rather than having two really huge companies with big liabilities, I wanted to try to spread my wings a little bit and get involved with different kind of businesses and industries and sectors. So just basically because I was getting not bored because I liked the growth, but I was getting hungry for other challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess now looking as to the sort of, I know you mentioned the referendum, and I mean, that's a word I haven't heard in a long time, but sort of looking at the cost of building supplies and materials now, I mean, it's crazy how that sort of direction's taken things.
Well, you know, like it was one of the reasons why we started a recruitment business, because after the referendum and after COVID, lots of people had lots of different views about what their work-life balance looked like, what their careers looked like for them. We also had a shortage of people in this country to fulfill the jobs, but we also have quite a buoyant job market. Yeah. So, you know, 1 year ago, sort of in the middle of the pandemic, really, I identified that there would be a gap in this market when we come out of the numerous lockdowns that we had and some of the restrictions that we had at the end of that. And I thought that people will become the new commodity, which is actually correct. And this business now is one of my fastest growing businesses.
Oh, awesome. What's the business called? Sorry, I wasn't aware it was.
It's called TR2 Recruitment.
TR2. Oh, I did see. I think I saw that actually. Is it a yellow logo?
Yes.
I have seen it. Yeah, I am aware. Yeah, fantastic. Whereabouts is the office located?
So we've got our offices here on the Roseland because I own a business park out here. It's one of my other businesses. And it made sense to start the business here. We've got capacity to grow to a team of maybe 25 in this office.
Oh, awesome.
So we've got at least another year's worth of growth here before we'll have to look for another property.
Okay. And then with TR2, so are you sort of industry specific with the recruitment that you source for, or is it very versatile?
So because of my links and my knowledge with the construction industry and construction materials industry, we primarily started there. But my partners in the business are from a higher education background, so we place lots of lecturers in universities up and down the country. We're a national business. We don't just deal in Cornwall or the West Country. We're national, but we've got a very wide portfolio and quite a strong team in different sectors, and we try to look at all the jobs that are really difficult. So, for example, we've placed quite a few people into tungsten, Hemerdon mine projects, or we looked at that anyway. We've got a lot of business with national construction companies up and down the country, and we're seeing things like increases in demand for drivers and quantity surveyors and all this sort of thing. Well, we've got big major infrastructure projects happening up and down the country, which is going to be great for the economy going forward, but we don't have the people to fulfill the drive. So it's a prime time to be placing people up and down the country in jobs that are there available, and wages are increasing as well because the demand is higher.
Yeah, I can agree with that. My husband's just started working for a haulage company, and the demand for his role was through the roof. So they've paid him a great wage, and he's just like, well, actually, I can't say no to that. So yeah, gets them in the door, which is good.
Great, that's perfect.
So has TR2 been running through? Did it run through COVID? Sorry, or was it? We started it a year ago, so we were in one of the lockdowns. But I've got a waste management business, and we run that through COVID because it was an essential business. We were basically collecting bins. Yeah.
And so refuse collection through COVID was quite was a priority. So our guys kept going through, but we found it incredibly hard because of the furlough scheme was so attractive to some of my guys, but we were an essential service that we needed to keep going. But a lot of my guys, wanted to stay at home and get paid. And also the weather was great. So if you remember the first lockdown.
Yeah, I do.
So it had some serious challenges, and out of that challenge came what we reshaped afterwards, and when we first went into the lockdown, I knew that it was going to be a life-changing or a business-changing thing. A lot of my guys, a lot of people, younger people, thought it would just be a couple of weeks. But it's not that I had experience of that. I just sensed that this was going to be something bigger. And I just took the view that you don't ever get the opportunity to entirely close down your business from the public for a indiscriminate amount of time, ever.
Yeah.
And so what were the advantages, and what positives could I take out of that? Because it's a unique situation. It's a terrible situation. You lose revenue, you lose staff and all that sort of stuff. But also there must be some positives in that. So we had some planning permission in place, and we had some building works to be doing, which meant that when we came back from the pandemic, all of that was done.
Yeah.
And we were a new business. So I actually saw the pandemic and its challenges as positives, because I couldn't have revenue really. So we just went to work improving our business for the time when it opened up. When we opened up, or when the economy opened up and we're allowed to trade in certain elements of what we do here, we were more than good to go. And so therefore we were able to provide a better service to more so than the emerging businesses that had kind of almost slept through lockdown.
Yeah, fantastic. It's not many people that I speak to through this process that say they saw the pandemic as an opportunity. So that's very business savvy to think that way and sort of go, actually, I'm going to take the positives from this and see what we can build. Yeah. So with TR2, I guess it's in its very sort of infancy, but as you say, it's your fastest growing business. What does the future look like for you? I mean, you're already national, so that's fantastic, but where do you see the business going?
So we've moved really quickly. I mean, we're really, really lucky that the individuals that we've got involved in this business they've got a background in it. They're very talented. That's why that's why they're here. And we've got multiple contracts now growing across the nation that are with blue chip companies first and foremost. So they will provide the backbone of our growth, whereas we are also developing teams within this business to then go after certain specific projects that we've got a keen interest in. And some of those are like helping veterans that are freshly out of the military get back into civilian life and back into work. So those guys take a little bit more care and consideration than your normal average civilian who's just maybe swapping jobs or looking for a new role. And what does the future look like? I mean, the rate of growth of this business, it will be probably a £2-3 million company by the end of next year in terms of if it's turnover. And with the guys that I work with here and our partners, it's really the sky's the limit. And that's the beauty of it. We never really said to ourselves that we want to build a £1 billion business, but that's okay. We actually just sat down and said, let's take this as far as we're comfortable to, because ultimately none of us want to be here 100 hours a week fretting over the small detail, because we've a lot, my partner especially, we've done that already. He grew a successful business, and I'm not saying that this is a lifestyle business now, or even that we're not serious about it. We're deadly serious about it, but we actually promote a more healthier lifestyle in terms of looking after our people and giving them the time and flexibility in the job role so that we retain the staff and we keep that crew on point. And a lot of this was excuse me, a lot of this was a cultural learning, basically because me and my partner, this is our second iteration, as I kind of said in this opening bit. It's our second iteration at this life. We've come through building a huge business. We then sold it, and now we're starting some businesses again. And this time we see the value in the people. Not that we didn't before, but we understand so much more now than we did the first time round. And it's often very hard to change the culture or the fundamentals in an existing business that you've been growing for a very long time. When you've got a chance to start afresh, like we had with TR2 a year ago, and actually put all of those key cultural targets and fundamental like goals, I suppose, out in front of us and say, that's what we want. We want a really good sound business that people want to come and work for us. And we want it to be able to operate even if I or my partner slips into a coma. And so that's really the key part of it. And, we're doing that. That's why our offices look like this. That's why we've got, things in place that really look after our employees. We encourage them, train them. And also we're always inducing a culture here that's, I'd say it's not unique in the world, but it's unique. It's pretty unique at the moment in what I've seen out there.
Yeah, I think that that's really interesting in terms of the first thing I said to you was praising you on how nice your office looked. So to some extent it's definitely working. And that's really nice. That's coming from somebody that just literally cast eyes at it, and you can only see my back wall. It is like that, and I think it's important to create a good working environment. If you want people to do a good job for you, you need to create a good working environment for them to operate in, and then give them the correct tools to operate with. And I think with yourself working in the recruitment industry, you're sort of preaching what you say there, and you're working within the industry and you've got expertise on your staff and keeping them and maintaining them. So that's awesome. So sort of, as you say, you sort of recruit sort of within the industries that they do. Did you see yourself when you were back in the military that you'd sort of be linked back to that in somehow with the forces?
Yeah, I mean, I was a Royal Marine, and that never leaves you. So you're part of a brotherhood. You've worn a Green Beret. That's just goes without saying. But the wider military family is as important as the Royal Marines are, although the Royal Marines are at the top in my view. There'll be many that argue that, but it doesn't matter. We help all without discrimination, and we're actually developing a really nice, useful tool at this moment in time, which will be going live on our website soon, and all that kind of stuff. That will be a special kind of a link in for anybody leaving the forces now or in their time of because you put your chit in basically, and you can be like 12, 18 months with that in. So that particular person, he or she, will be looking very intensively about what they're going to do when they come out into civilian life and what that looks like for them. And so that can be quite a daunting process. And the military themselves, they give you a little bit of help, but they're not that great at the afterlife settlement thing. So that's what I think will fill that gap, because my other partners in this business, they are, one of them is an ex-Marine like me. So we're kind of, we're very much focused like that. And I just enjoy working with the guys, enjoy kind of helping them get somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's good, drawing from past experiences, which is great. I guess, and then finally, sort of, as you've got a lot of experience in the field, but would there be any advice, your top advice that you would give to somebody who thought about going into business themselves?
So, it doesn't matter what business that you're in, whether you're selling flowers or huge construction projects, it's all about managing risks within those business. And ultimately, business isn't typically or isn't often about the actual product or service that you're doing. It's about all the problems that happen in between that. So it's very much a problem solving. And if you can get your head around that, you then cope with the stress better. Because if you come in and every single thing that goes wrong sends your blood pressure through the roof because it's your business, your baby, and you're trying to perform. If you just understand that all the problems that you get in between you and the delivery of your service or product to the customer is actually what your business is.
Yep. People
don't really understand it. They say, "Oh, I want to sell this to that person over there," and it's great, and it all sounds perfect. And you write your business plan, and that's what you're going to do. We haven't made any allowances for all the things that are going to go wrong between that process and this delivery, and that's ultimately what catches everybody out. And it doesn't matter if you've got brand new machinery in place, swanky software in place. It doesn't matter. Always, every single day, you're going to have another issue to solve that won't be completely directly linked to the product that you're selling and just part of the journey.
Sure.
So managing that process or that expectation to understand that ultimately business is just a series of problems that needs to be solved. Once you realize that, then it isn't just selling eggs. It's a whole new world. And that's, my advice is just take a deep breath.
Yeah. Stay calm.
Yeah.